Hello again. This is Math 1120 coming to you from the College of DuPage. And the title of this lecture is High Stakes Assessment Protocols and Processes for VCM Sessions. And as always, please be an active learner as watching this video. Now, it's important that you realize that this video deals with general VCM high-stakes assessment processes and protocols. There will be other contributions that will deal with specific course issues, including the content for the high-stakes assessment. At the outset, I want to emphasize that all students will be accommodated. And so if you have issues, you should be talking to me about them as soon as possible. But all students are being accommodated. We do have a target event planned. You know when this is. The plan is that you show up and it's a normal testing procedure. If not, you should be sending me an email as soon as possible, and you should have accommodations in the title so I don't miss anything, because again, all students will be accommodated. That's the title of the slide, and that's the last word on the slide. All students will be accommodated. If you're seeking accommodations through the Center for Access and Accommodations, you should provide me documentation of that material, and you should contact the center if you need those documentations. Now, you might be saying, well, why do we need to proctor high-stakes assessment? Because academic integrity is a partnership between faculty and students. Well, I have to tell you, unfortunately, this is a work in progress. Every time I just trust people, my trust is misplaced so far. So this is a work in progress. I dream of the day when everybody will be honest, but we're not there yet, unfortunately. So the math department insists that I proctor high stakes assessment during this time. And in fact, for a long time, I have been putting my tests in the testing center, and that allows students flexibility in when they take the test, and they also can spend a longer time in taking it. But unfortunately, COVID compromised this, as it did many other things, and so I can't do this anymore. One day I hope to return to this process because it's good for me and it's good for the students. But I still team with the testing group, except it's different. We now have a COVID version of this process. Now, I'm going to describe it here. There's lots of moving parts, but it works. I've done this for over a year now, so I know it works. And we, in this class, will make it work. So pay attention, please. So here's how it will work. This is you, and you will be involved for the VCM in a group Zoom session. And there'll be a bunch of people who are proctors. This is actually a picture of the NASA controlled room back in the Apollo 11 days. And you can see that the picture was in black and white, and all the people were men. Today, and this is good news today, there are many women, and things are in living color. And so the picture today would be much different. But I like the picture because it shows a lot of things. So this is you, and this will be a group Zoom session. Don't come to Blackboard Ultra. That's not where this is happening. So there'll be a bunch of proctors who are working to help us proctor the exam. So they will be there in this Zoom session. And so there'll be proctors out here. You might say, oh, this is the proctor who's talking to you. There will also be a supervisor of the proctors who is there as well. And Linda and I will also be floating out there as well in the Zoom activity. Now, I will be also proctoring several other exams at the same time, but that's okay because I have my cell phone. But Linda will be there and I will be there in case you have questions. So there's a lot of people supporting this activity, and you will be watched, and watched carefully. And here's a checklist for the remote proctoring. So you want to install the free Zoom app prior to testing on your smartphone. It's free, and even if you have the Zoom app, make sure it's the most current version. And you want to prepare your smartphone before joining the Zoom meeting. Turn off the ringer and notifications, because this is how they're going to be proctoring you taking the exam, is over your cell phone. Make sure your phone is charged and also connected to a power source. You really don't want to lose power, because that will be a testing irregularity. So you want to join the meeting on time with your device, and it's very important that you're prompt, because there is a check-in process, and we'll talk a little bit about that, and this will actually happen a little bit before the time that the exam is scheduled to start. So it's very important that you try to be prompt on this day, because you don't want to inconvenience others. Okay, so there are rules, and as much as possible, this simulates the kind of thing that happens in the testing center. So a photo ID is required. So you come equipped to show a driver's license, state ID, or COD student ID, and this is a picture ID. You want to have a place for you to take the exam, and you would like for it to be a private room that is well lit and where you can be alone for the duration of the test. I realize for some students this will be hard, but you try to do this. Inform others that are there at your home that you will be testing and cannot speak with them or be interrupted while testing. This includes children as well, but sometimes children misbehave, but you try to have ways that your children will be cared for so you can test properly. We want you to sit at a table, desk, or other flat surface. I did have one student who preferred sitting on the floor, and we were able to manage that. But you want to have a place where you're going to be sitting, and that's to be clear of all non-permitted items. That means you don't have cheat sheets and things like that. Again, the area will be policed. I will encourage you to watch this YouTube video, because it talks about what your space should look like. I think this video actually has one of my former students who is there. She was a spring of 2020 student. I think she is starring in this video. But anyway, review this video link for an example of the proper setup and cell phone positioning. And you determine how you're going to do it. I think duct tape can work, but do you figure out how you're going to do it? You will only be allowed one monitor. So you have the cell phone, and then you have another monitor. You will use your phone's camera to slowly scan the work area. They will look around you, including above and below your work surface. And if notes or extra test materials are permitted, they know what's permitted and what's not. The proctors do. Have them on the desk table facing up. And they will, just as they do in the testing center, they will pull up your sleeves, because people write things on their wrists. They program things into their watches and fitness trackers and cell phones, and they will also ask you to pull out your pockets. Hats, because people write on the bill of their hats, or earbuds are not permitted. At any time during the exam, the proctor may stop you and ask you to stand up and scan your work area to ensure testing security and academic integrity. Sometimes people have brought assistants into the exam, and that's of course not allowed. The entire test session will be recorded, and so that means there can be video evidence of what's going on. Just play this straight up and you will be fine. And once the exam begins, you will not be able to take breaks. Breaks will be guarded as testing irregularities. Now here's the mechanics on that evening. Just prior to the test, a hard copy of the test, that's a physical copy, well, it's not really physical, it's an electronic copy, will be emailed to you just prior to the test, and it's emailed to your COD email. So that is where you're going to look to get the test. You are allowed to print it off if that's what you want to do, but this is going to be just prior to the test, like 5 minutes before. You will engage with the proctor, and the proctor will provide you a password to access the assessment answer sheets, which will be here in Blackboard. Now, this is password protected, and what that means, because this is password protected, is that you can only get into it through the proctors giving you that. And this is the answer sheet. This is where you're putting your answer sheet. And this is the primary grading instrument. So this is the thing that I count. So if this is left blank, that means you didn't answer the question. So I will look here first to see if you answered the question or not. If you answered the question, I'll determine if it's right or wrong. If it's right, you will get full credit. If it is wrong, you will only potentially get partial credit. If it's blank, you don't get any credit at all. So this is very important. This will be auto-submitted. And again, this is the primary grading instrument. Now, after the exam, as a secondary grading instrument, you can upload a PDF of your work. But I always look at the answer sheet first. But this is something that I can look at to see if perhaps you would qualify for extra credit. But I look here first for the answer, and this is for not extra credit, but partial credit. So you can upload this, and you can do this with your phone. You see the test is really over then, and you're just uploading this. You upload this the same way that you've uploaded so far your LSAs. So we've practiced this a lot. And what you should do is take photos of this and upload a PDF. And that should be done within about 10 minutes of the proctoring test being finished. You've already submitted your answer sheet, then you upload this. In closing, now more than ever, time is precious. Each day must count. Do the math, it will make you strong. And now more than ever, take care of yourself and of each other. May God bless you all.